So, welcome to another episode of the interview with confidence from my car. So, today I would like to talk about the importance of storytelling. Storytelling is important not only like in movies in Hollywood, but like I use a lot of that with my students for interviews, of course. So I always tell people, hey, you have to know your top 5 stories. I always tell people you have to be good at telling those stories. And like, this is so true. You have no idea how important that is, because think like this, it's not the best person, it's not the best candidate who will get the job. Sometimes it's not the best, but for sure it's that person who did the best during those 30 minutes, 45 minutes of interview. So the person who takes the job, if it was 4 interviews, it's the person who did the best during those 4 interviews. And sometimes this is not the most intelligent, it's not the most experienced, but it's the person who performed the best. So the thing is, like, fair or not fair, this is a fact. It's the person who performs better. So storytelling is super important. Okay, I'm sure you are convinced that storytelling is important. But how do you practice for that? How do you do that? So in order to show the importance of storytelling, let me tell you a personal story. So one day I was in the park close to my home, and I was in the park by myself, not with the kids. I was just walking, and then I was sitting in the bench thinking about the future. I was younger. This was like 10 years ago. Excuse me. This was 10 years ago. And I was in the park, in the bench, I sit down. And then I saw this guy getting in a limo in the park, parking, like the driver, he had a driver, the driver was parking the limo. And then this old guy, like probably the age of my grandpa, like a little bit younger, he just opened the door and then he left. He just walked a little bit, like checking stuff. And then I was like, I have to talk to this guy. Like, I have to talk to this guy. So I started walking in his direction. And then like, he was there. So I was like, okay, I have to ask him something. Like, this guy seems like very powerful and like with a lot of knowledge. And then I asked him like, sir, like, excuse me, my name is Leo. I introduced myself. I said a little bit about myself, and then I said, okay, man, I'm very curious to know how you achieved this life, how you have this limo with this driver, and then you are here in the morning. Like, can you tell me more about the beginning of your journey? Like, how was that? What did you do different from other people? And then he said, interesting idea. So he went inside of his car, got a book, and he gave me this book, and he said, I read a copy of this book. I have this book here, but like, I read this book like 25 years ago, and then this changed my life, because I was reading this book and I was executing everything that I learned from this book. And like, I learned so many from like each chapter of this book, and this is what made me the millionaire that I am right now. This is what gave me the house that I have, the family that I have. Like, everything came from the learnings that I had from this book. So what I recommend to you is like, read a page, learn something, and execute what is in this page. And like, I'm sure you will succeed. And I was like, and you are giving me this book? Yes, I'm gonna give you this book, and you will achieve amazing results from this book. And then he gave me this book, and I was like, Jesus Christ, like, I couldn't. I said, thank you very much. I sat in the bench, I started reading the book, and I did the same way that he told me about reading the book. Read only a page, learn, and execute. And that was it. Like that's how I improved a lot. Okay, so let's pause a little bit. I just told you a story. Who here right now wants a copy of this book? Exactly, a copy of this book that he told me. Okay, Did you notice that I never ever told you the title of the book? I never told you the author of the book. I never told you any chapter of the book. I never told you like any phrase or sentence of this book. But somehow a lot of people here want this book. So this is interesting. I didn't say anything about the book. I only talked to you about the results of the book using a story. I just told you the results that that person got from that book, the stories the results that I am getting from this book. And you want this book, but I never told you anything. And you were probably like, tell me the title of this book. Okay, so let's talk about that. So just FYI, this is a made up story. Like, this never happened. There is no book. So I just want to exemplify this to you using this story. So you see how stories are important. I can tell you more and more stories, but the thing is, stories are important because you can highlight the correct topics of the story. So that's how we do this in interviews. My point here is different. Like, you wanted a book that I never talked to you about the book, and you wanted that because I highlighted the results. I highlighted the most important pieces of my story. So when you are telling your top 5 stories, that's what I work with all my students. When you are telling your top 5 stories, we will practice together. I will learn everything that I can about that story from you during the video lessons and everything. So my point is, we will tell the correct, so during an interview, when someone asks you, oh, tell me about a leadership story or something like that, they can ask in different ways. But my point is, you will tell exactly the perfect story. So the person is like, oh my God, I want this guy, I want this woman working with me. This person can solve all my problems. And I go back to the beginning of this conversation with you. You may be the most experienced, you may be the best, so it's even better if you tell your stories correctly. It's even better if you tell your answers correctly. And by correctly, I mean in the best way possible, to cause like the person on the other side is thinking like, oh my God, I need to work with this person. This person is awesome. And that's the person who gets the job. So you have to highlight the correct level of details. You have to highlight the results. You have to highlight your impact. You have to highlight how you made the difference. So that goes to that story that I just told you. It's about highlighting the correct pieces of information so the other person is even more curious to know you better. It's to highlight those things. So this is what I wanted to talk to you today. I hope you learned a little bit more about the importance of storytelling and how that can make an amazing difference in your career, in your progression, not only if you are applying to new jobs, but also if you want to progress in your career, in your company, you have to be telling stories. So I hope you liked this. If you don't know my website yet, it's jobrecruitingsecrets.com. I have a membership and you can learn a lot of that stuff in there and many other topics. So I hope you visit me in my page, and I see you in one of my trainings. Bye bye guys, have a good day.